Welcome to round 3 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of July 6th. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
And Nicole Eridix.
Hi there.
We're moms of teens and young adults, and when it comes to parenting, we've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. But we're still waiting for that day when we'll reach the finish line and have no further need to lay down in a dark room with a wet rag over our eyes, worrying about something or other. Wednesday is complaint day here on Parenting Roundabout, and today we are complaining about situations where moms are not honest with one another. So on Monday, we talked about whether it's negative or positive to be honest about marriage to people who are about to get married. And today, Nicole had a situation that prompted her to think about this, and I also did. I was at a socially distanced gathering of people, and people started talking about the pandemic and the lockdown and everything, and like one by one, everyone was saying how they had had so much wonderful family time and, you know, it was such a blessing and blah, blah, blah. And then finally one person was like, well, it wasn't all roses and teddy bears at our house, you know? And I was like, wow, I'm so glad somebody said that, you know, because you know it can't be all true. And
right.
It makes you feel bad. Like, So anyway, is that, what were you going to say, Nicole, about this?
Well, this sort of topic was prompted by a Instagram post by one of my favorite mommy Instagram influencers. And it was just like a little meme that came up, and it was, you know, it said, being honest about your motherhood journey is the greatest gift that you can give another mom. Mm-hmm. And it totally resonated with me because one of my biggest complaints, so way back when I had my son, I was definitely on the younger side. I wasn't, you know, like we had our kids young. And my son was not easy. He was challenging. He never slept. I had trouble nursing him. I had trouble, like, just coping in general because he was really high maintenance. And I had some other mommy friends around who also had given birth around the same time. And I just had nobody to compare notes with because every time I tried to open up to them about what I was going through, I just got, you know, flowers and roses in return. Yeah. It was like, you know, oh, well, mine sleeps through the night and mine does this and mine does that and breastfeeding's going great and blah, blah, blah. And it really sent me into a depression. Like, I'm not kidding. It was really, you know, it was like, I couldn't really share or lean on anybody or get advice or just even seek validation. Right. And I just feel like that has been such a pervasive issue in all of my relationships with other moms that we just seem to, you know, make things look really good. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not that I'm saying, you know, air your dirty laundry kind of thing, but just be honest about what's going on. And like, you don't need to sugarcoat stuff, right? Because it sets us all up for failure if we're not being honest with each other. Yeah. Like it's like that whole marriage topic that we talked about yesterday. Like, be honest about it, because the more honest you are, the better chance people have of, you know, succeeding. They don't have these false expectations, right?
Right.
So that's my rant. And so anyway, yeah. So just to kind of circle around is that this, even though my kids are older, you know, my son is now 24, I still get that in my friendships with other moms who are, you know, talking about things that I know they're just sugarcoating it. It's not really a true representation. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. How about you guys?
I don't know. This is making me think that my very first foray into websites came on remember GeoCities? like way, way, way back in the day, super simple way. Was that Yahoo, or did Yahoo buy them at some point?
Maybe.
And I noticed all the motherhood GeoCities sites were all hearts and flowers. And so that's why I started Mothers with Attitude. And it was just like, to put my little caustic take up there. And, so I felt like that was something that was needed. And I also remember in my early days of parenting, I think I've mentioned here before, I was on a email listserv for parents of kids who had adopted from Eastern Europe, who have a very specific subset of parenting experiences that you can't just sit down with the other ladies at the PTA and talk about. Yeah. And there was definitely always two camps on there. One camp was saying you have to be absolutely raw and honest and say all the terrible things that are happening. And the other that said you are going to make adopting from Eastern Europe look bad. Children will be languishing in orphanages because you have scared people off. So you must always say good things. So it's yeah, I can kind of see both sides of that. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. It's true that unbridled positivity and chirpiness is not helpful. And on the other hand, if you're having a hard time, do you really want to hear about somebody else's problems? I mean, I guess it helps to know that other people struggle, but to sit on a couch with somebody for 45 minutes and listen to the problems they're having with your kid, and the whole time you're thinking, I want to talk about my problems. What about my problems? Shut up. I have problems. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to really hear about it either way. Sometimes. But I also have one particular friend who swings back and forth. And one day it will be everything is wonderful. And I feel like, well, geez, I can't even talk about what's going on with me because, then I'm going to look like a total loser next to her and everything perfect. And then another time I'll see her and it'll be all the terrible things that are happening. And it's like, well, geez, I can't really talk about what's going on with me because it's not this bad. And I just, everybody else should just shut up, basically.
Okay.
This is why when you listen to our podcast, it's mostly me talking. It's just me. How about you, Catherine? You have 2 minutes before I break in again.
Well, I mean, I agree with Nicole that, if you're struggling, it's really hard if you can't find a place to be able to talk about what's going on.
Right.
And that means, you can't be honest. So then therefore, nobody's going to be honest back to you. But I also, like you said, Terry, the whole thing about, do you spell out everything that's terrible? Mm-hmm. And then the response is like, well, I guess I'm never having kids or whatever. Yeah, but I think overall having at least one or two, having some outlet is certainly important. And whether that's on a podcast or online or in person, it's hard because I think things like social media, you only get the good stuff, and that's all. I don't ever post on Facebook or whatever. I mean, I'm certainly not posting well, today sucked or whatever. It's like, here's all the pictures from, it's usually only pictures from important events or whatever. And that's so that my parents can see them or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I can sit here and say yes, it's important to be honest, but do I spell all that stuff out? No, I do not.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't do it on a
public forum.
Forum, but I was one of those moms that went to all the mommy and me groups, and I was always sort of looking for connections because I felt very isolated as a young mom. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I didn't. I mean, there were definitely people that overshared.
Yeah.
At the same time. It was also helpful to hear, you weren't, things weren't all that bad. It kind of gave you perspective too.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do this. I remember this one mommy and me group that I went to, and our kids were like literally 6 months old, I want to say, not even. And this one mom got up and told everybody that her daughter, who was the same age, 6 months, was potty trained. And we're like, what? And she's like, yeah, I just don't put a diaper on her all day. And when she wants to go to the bathroom, she crawls over to the toilet and I just hold her over the toilet. I'm like, okay, that was a bit extreme, but
that is ultimately how I potty trained my son, but he was, 5. So
yeah, I mean, 6 months, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's when I realized, okay, things aren't that bad.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
Yeah. Right after we adopted the kids, my son was in I guess it was early intervention therapy situation where I would bring him to work with a speech and OT and PT once a week, I guess, or something like that. And then all the moms would sit together in the waiting room, or we would walk over and go get donuts at the Dunkin' next door. And that was nice because we all obviously had kids who had issues. So we didn't have to pretend like, oh yes, Bobby is already reading at age, 1.5. We could all talk fairly realistically about the real difficult things that were going on. So that was super. I liked that. But there's also always are you betraying your child by revealing negative things? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think some of the positivity is like wanting to put your kid's best foot forward.
Yeah.
And I never know. I mean, it feels wrong to do it in public on social media, although I certainly do. And I mean, we're talking about our kids on a podcast that can go out to anybody. Mm-hmm. But that almost feels more anonymous than like talking to somebody that you know who knows your kid. And then that information is going to be in that person's memory bank forever. And anything that happens in the future, you're going to know they knew about that thing that you shared that time when you were upset. I don't know. It's like being honest feels kind of betraying sometimes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, it's that line between, like, where does your child's story end and yours start?
Yes. Where is it yours and where is it theirs? And it's always partly yours.
Yeah.
Everything my kids have gone through, I've gone through also. So I can never talk about that part of my life. Doesn't seem right. But at the same time, wow, if I were them, would I not want everybody to know about that? So, it's hard. It's not just as easy as being honest, I think. Being dishonest and making things look rosy and then things don't go well is also not good. I've been on both sides of that. Being overly optimistic.
Right. Well, there's no doubt that when you listen to this podcast, you're going to get nothing but honesty.
Whether you want it or not.
Yeah, there's no sugarcoating here. Just tell it like it is. So that's it for today's round 3. Tune in tomorrow when we'll talk about childproofing for big kids, and then on Friday to see what we've come up with for our Roundabout Roundup picks this week. Find all our episodes at parentingroundabout.com and talk back in the comments there, on our Facebook page, or on Twitter where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.